champ, 5-time Red Bull Joyride winner, X Games Real Mountain Bike gold medalist, Whistler, BC's own Brandon Semenuk.
All right. I have to be honest. When I got asked to come up here and induct Jay, I was taken back. You know, I knew Jay as a fan, but never personally. So I reached out to some of his close friends to get a better understanding of his character and his career. They also told me to make this brief for Jay's sake. But when you look at the laundry list of accomplishments, easier said than done. I know this is the Canadian BMX Hall of Fame, but in a few moments, I'll be introducing not only the best Canadian freestyle BMXer, not only the most influential Canadian freestyler, but in the opinion of many around the world, the best freestyle BMXer ever. Yeah. Miron is a 6-time world champion, 9-time X Games gold medalist, and that includes a gold medal in the very first dirt contest they held 30 years ago. He can win a vert contest one day and a dirt contest the next. Almost no rider in history can do that. And he was a legitimate flatland pro. He could dominate any mini ramp, any street spot. He stood shoulder to shoulder with some of BMX's elite, you know, Matt Hoffman, Dave Mira, Dennis McCoy. Jay wasn't just keeping up, he was innovating. You know, he created everything from, you know, technical tricks like the Canadian nose pick, all the way to big air moves like double backflips and everything in between. He set the standard.
Fly whip.
Amen. The truth is, Jay could be inducted under any category we come up with, rider, builder, legend, industry contributor. You know, to limit him to just one undersells the scope of what he's done. Because beyond riding, Jay built Canadian BMX from the ground up. He founded Up North BMX Supply, 10-Pack Distribution, McNeil Bikes, Chase BMX Magazine, Metro Jam Contest, Red Bull Elevation, with the help of Darcy, the pivotal seat system, which riders around the world still use today. And through it all, he continued to give back. He supported countless young riders, bringing them to international attention, and just opened up the doors, opportunities that seemed unreachable. He's the first and only Canadian to be introduced into the U.S. BMX Hall of Fame. And when riders like TJ Lavin and Ryan Nyquist got their chance, they said Jay should have been in before them. So that's saying everything. He came up in an era when BMX was the fastest progressing action sport, an era stacked with legends, and Jay didn't just ride among them, he beat them again and again. But if we had to distill Jay down to one word, I think that word would be intensity. Everything he does is so full on. Jay's intensity was something different. It was an all-in mentality, lander slam, full speed, death grip, pure commitment. And I don't think that stopped on the bike. The same focus carried in everything he touched. Take Red Bull Elevation, for example. This was the biggest dirt jump contest of its time. You know, the dirt had to be the perfect mixture, the jumps had to be pristine, and the show itself had to show BMX in the best possible light. And today, with his woodworking, you see the same drive. He's meticulous, he's patient, he's fueled by his own sense of perfection. Whatever Jay does, he does with an uncompromising intensity. But what struck me the most was his lack of ego. Jay was reserved, he always looked out for others, even when competing, filming, pushing the sport forward. Maybe he believed that a rising tide lifts all boats. Maybe he just loved BMX so much that he wanted everyone to rise with him. But whatever it was, the results speak for themselves. For me as a kid watching him on TV, Jay was larger than life, better than any superhero. And so it's a huge honor for me to stand here tonight and say these words. It's my privilege to induct, all the way from Thunder Bay, Ontario, the Canadian Beast, Jay Miron.
I'm usually pretty good at talking, but I'm a little overwhelmed right now. Holy moly. Thank you so much, Brandon, for that incredible introduction, man. It means the world to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, all of you, for the cheers and all the support over the years. Thank you to Stu Johnson for editing that video. Stu edited the McNeil video, which was pretty much my creme de la creme of riding, my top video part ever. It means the world to me that Stu was able to edit that video. And then lastly, thank you everyone here at the Canadian BMX Hall of Fame for making this happen. It is so important to recognize the people in the past. I mean, a lot of people know my story, but for me to be here and learn the stories of everyone that came before me, especially in racing, it's incredible. So thank you very much, guys. Ian and Alan, when I got inducted into the American BMX Hall of Fame last year, I wore a jacket as well, and found out I was hugely overdressed. So it's your turn tonight. And Julie, you certainly didn't race like a powder puff, but God, you cry like a powder puff. My grandmother said I wasn't cocky. Honestly, I learned to ride my bicycle when I was a very, very young child. It was on the same day that my older sister learned to ride a bicycle. Once she had it figured out and could pedal around comfortably, she showed me how to do it. I literally got on the bike and off I went, pedaling down the street. Upon seeing this, my sister burst into tears and ran into the house screaming at Mom. Since I was a year and a half younger than her, she figured Mom ripped her off out of a good year and a half of bike riding. And she was not going to let that slide. An hour after I learned to ride a bike, I started jumping it. And that is the absolute truth. I don't know what compelled me to start jumping my bike, but it was a lot of fun. And I never stopped jumping my bike. I remember being in hockey school one summer, and one of my hockey buddies, Blair Bamford, told me about BMX racing. And I thought, what? There's BMX racing? And yeah, he told me, I just got a racing, man, I'm gonna start racing. So my mom brought me down to the bike shop, and she got me my first ever legit chromoly BMX bike. It was a Raleigh Pro-Am. And as she was paying for the bike shop owner handed us a piece of paper. And he said, the first BMX race ever held in Thunder Bay is going to be this Saturday. You guys should go check it out. Well, we didn't just check it out. I raced, and I had the absolute best day of my life so far to that point. My mother, on the other hand, instantly regretted buying me that bike and regretted that purchase for the next 30 years of her poor life. But I could tell at a young age it meant more to me than my friends. For whatever reason, it meant everything to me. After the first couple of years, I started racing in '82, and at the end of the '83 season, the guy that owned the property the track was on got scared of getting sued and closed the track down. And the city wouldn't build us a new track. So, very reluctantly, I got into freestyle. I was crushed that racing was over, but I found out pretty quickly that I was a lot better at showing off on a bike than I was at racing. So I guess it was a good thing, you know. And by the time I was 15 years old, I realized I had it in me to be a pro rider. And that became my dream. And I remember reading the magazines became something different to me. I started studying how the pros lived and how they rode and how they acted. And I wanted to be awesome when I was a pro. I didn't want to just be a pro, I wanted to be a role model, and I wanted to be awesome. And yeah, I remember turning pro right as the sport was completely dying. The 80s BMX boom was over. And I almost didn't go for it. I almost just went to college. But I figured, I'm seriously, I'm spilling my guts here, and you guys are laughing at me. I decided I'd come that far. I'm going to see it through. I figured I wasn't going to be able to buy a Porsche now, but at least if I could travel around the world a little bit and have fun on my bike. that would be it, you know, and that was going to be enough for me. And I lived that life. I lived even better than that life. By the time I did turn pro, BMX had become popular all over the world, so even though it died in North America, my first trip overseas was to Seoul, Korea, and I got to meet a bunch of awesome Korean riders. And then, about 3 months later, I ran into Chase Gouin at the BMX Freestyle World Championships in Budapest, Hungary. And this was 2 years after the fall of the Soviet Union, so when I got off the plane in Budapest, there were a bunch of army dudes standing there with Kalashnikov rifles in their hand. And they were walking us into the terminal, and I thought, okay, well, this just got real. But I went to bed early that night, and I thought, God, I'm at the World Championships. This is serious. I got to really win. And all these wasted German guys who were outside of my room just partying till 5 in the morning. So I never got to sleep. And it didn't matter because the contest started at 1 in the afternoon or something, so I slept from 5 in the morning till 11, it was fine. The next night I figured, I'm gonna go out and party with these German guys, they sound like a lot of fun. We went to this crazy club in downtown Budapest called the Rendezvous, and wow. I was not ready for that, being this, grew up in a religious house in Thunder Bay. But I did my best, and I hung in there as best I could. And the next day, word went around that Jay Miron actually went out and hung in there with the Europeans. So whenever I touched my bike that day, they all started singing like they were watching a soccer game. And it was seriously so amazing, and I'll never forget that as long as I lived. And I always had a really good time when I went to Europe, because they accepted me like family. So thank you very much to all the guys in Europe that accepted me like family. I rode for another couple years, and by the end of the '94 season, I was a 3-time world champion. I was a 3-time North American Series champion. I was arguably the best rider in the world at that point, and I made $14,000 that year. I was sick of seeing rats running around the floor in our hotel room. I was sick of sleeping on couches, if I was lucky, usually floors. I was sick of being poor and eating crappy fast food because it's all I could afford. And I figured it's finally time. I'm gonna go home and go to school and make my mama proud. But it wasn't meant to be. I literally did move home to Thunder Bay, and in the spring of '95, I got a phone call. I got home after going out with friends, and my mother said, "You got a phone call from a guy at Schwin Bicycles. He wants you to call him back tonight." He said he's in the West Coast, and don't worry about calling him late. And I called him, and he said, "Yeah, Jay, we've been running a very successful mountain bike program and a very successful BMX race program for quite some time now. We want to get into freestyle. The company's 100 years old this year. We've got a big fund. We want you to put a team together for us. We want you to work with our engineers to develop a line of bicycles. And this is what we're ready to pay you." And my first thought at 24 years old was, holy moly, I'm going to be making way more money than mom or dad. I'm serious, this all happened, this is a real story. So I was torn, even though I was excited. I was torn about riding for a corporate sponsor, and there was a little bit of back and forth. But I realized I'd be crazy if I turned it down, so I took the deal. And then 3 weeks later, I won the first ever X Games. Yeah. And wow, did life ever change. All of a sudden, I was traveling all over the world with my best friends, having more fun than I ever dreamed I could have. And I did that for the next 10 years. And when people ever ask me, what's it like to live your dream? It's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what it's like to live my wildest dreams, because my career ended up becoming far more amazing than any of my wildest dreams could have ever predicted. And I did a lot of my traveling with a lot of guys here in the room. I'll never forget the first Christmas I spent away from my family. I was out in the middle of the Mojave Desert with Corey Bolton at a nudist resort. I'm dead serious. I never got to see his dick though, because the place burned down about 20 years earlier. There was a couple old ruins still left and a perfectly rideable swimming pool still going right now called the Nude Bowl. I don't know what kind of miles we put on, Corey, but wow. Had the time of my life with you, man. God, it was fun. You were holding the blanket when I learned backflips. Yeah. And I'll never forget those shows we did in St. Louis. I'll never forget those crazy road trips we went on talking about everything, you know. I'll never forget the time I was on tour with Chase Gouin. And a bunch of these young punks from Winnipeg came and showed up early and told the people at the fair that they were the team, and they started riding our ramps. I would find out years later that that was Dave Asano and his buddies. I remember when I asked Darcy if I could borrow Dave for a show. It was the first ever Schwin show. And we didn't quite have the team together, and they said, whatever you do, don't steal him or we'll kill you. So there I am setting up all the ramps and getting everything ready, and all the team's just sitting on their asses doing nothing. And Dave got up and picked up the other side of the ramp and helped me build everything. And I thought, there's hey Dave, you want to ride for the Schwin team? And we signed Dave, and God, the stories we have together, man. Stand up, Dave, please, if you don't mind. And he didn't smile a lot back in the day. He also didn't drink. And he loved to go out partying. So for 5 years of my life, I had a designated driver, a best buddy, and a bouncer. What a time we had. I remember the time we got a police escort out of the state of Illinois, or else I was going to jail. We literally got a 20-minute police escort to the state line. Dave somehow or another said, look man, we got shows in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, I think. He's like, we're leaving the state. In 20 minutes, we're going to be gone. And they said, okay, we're going to follow you. And they followed us to the border, and you kept me out of the Cement Hotel that night, Dave. Thank you very much. I wasn't without our teammate jumping up and down on the Toyota Camry that the guy that owned the dealership drove out of the dealership to bring us out partying that night. You know, I could go on and on, but yeah, it really worked out. I've got to thank Schwin Bicycles for everything they did for me, and Toyota Trucks, or I guess just Toyota in general. They sponsored the whole Schwin team. Even though I wasn't a mainstream rider or athlete, Toyota treated me like gold. The Schwin team was amazing. I gotta tell 2 more stories. I hope I'm not taking too much time. In 1996 was the second year of the ESPN years, and they figured out Dave Miron was, you know, as much as he was an incredible bike rider, he couldn't speak that well on TV, and they needed something, and they found out that people called me the Canadian Beast, and they hit me hard. I mean, my mom called me and said, what are they saying about you on TV? And they said I was the most hated rider in BMX freestyle, and I was mean, and I was fighting everyone, and they were really horrible to me. And I thought, God, I'm gonna lose my sponsors, especially Schwin, you know? And Oakley, I gotta thank Oakley as well, they sponsored me for years. I called my manager at Oakley, and he's like, I don't care. I was like, what about the boss? He's like, the boss doesn't care. Nobody cares. All right. But then I made the scary phone call to Schwin. And Jeff Schaefer picked up the phone and said, I said, Jeff, I gotta talk to you about all this Canadian Beast stuff. You know, and he's like, yeah, we were all in a meeting about that all morning this morning. And I thought, oh God, this is it, you know, it's over. And he said, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to the company. They had been trying for years to shed the all-American family bike company image. And he goes, you just single-handedly did this overnight, Jay. All of the higher-end Schwin BMX freestyle bikes became the Canadian Beast bikes. I got a big raise, t-shirts, stickers, you name it. I couldn't believe, like, really? And that's how my career turned out. And every time I thought it couldn't possibly get better, it got way better, you know? And I've been out of it. Brandon mentioned my furniture. I now design and build custom furniture. And I absolutely love it. And I don't have a lot of time to come around BMX. I was thinking earlier this week, this is probably the last time in my life that I will ever stand up in front of a crowd as a BMX rider. And what a way to do it at the Canadian BMX Hall of Fame. Again, thank you very much for everyone at the Canadian BMX Hall of Fame. It's a huge honor for me to have my community recognize my accomplishments and my contributions in the sport. It means the world to me, guys. I really appreciate this. I want to thank Darcy, Jamie McIntosh, Terry, Big Al. I'm lost for, I'm trying to figure out who's who here. Ken Paul and Chris Young. I know I'm missing 10 people, but the company we ran for 13 years, wow, what an incredible time in my life, and I'm so proud of what we were able to do for the sport. Thank you very much for everything, guys. It was an amazing run. And I'm going to start crying like Julie now after I talk trash. Yeah, I've been called worse. Anyway, I guess in closing, thanks very much for this great honor. I really appreciate it.
Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And a solid 3 hours earlier than last week.